Hiya, who's new with you? It is Friday, Cali Freedom Friday, March 29th, 2024. And there have been some disturbances in the force, as well as very erratic exposure on this cheap laptop. Welcome to a new face to us, Jody, and we'll talk about how she came to meet us. And I think I'm hearing hiss from Asmith's microphone, so I am muting him. There we go. That's a little cleaner. Hello, Yugen. Thanks for tuning in over there in YouTube land. If I've muted someone that wants to be unmuted and you can't unmute yourself, just put a hand up. That's one of those things that Zoom has. You can raise your hand that StreamYard doesn't have yet. That would be kind of nice. But Jody was asking, why StreamYard? It's a little bit fancier, but it won't correct for this crap top. I call it it's a Lenovo No crap top. So, as we have done so many times in the past, I'm going to ask Orit to start us off. And here comes Kimberly.
Oh, I have to plug in. Hold on.
Can't hear you, Michael. Oh, that's my
Pachamama, sweet, sweet Earth Mother of us, of ours, Mother of us all. Thank you for holding us. Thank you for sustaining us. Thank you for blessing us with this amazing life as we walk, hopefully gently, on your belly. Great Spirit. Thank you for holding us day in and day out. Thank you for illuminating us with your light. Thank you for allowing our brother Tzaddik to sit with you now by his own choice. We bless his soul and we ask that he finds peace, the peace that his heart so craved. We ask that he looks down upon us gently, with love, with blessings, and that he may return in another vessel to live an easier life than he did this time around. We call on all the organizing principles, the sun, the moon, the stars, to be with us here as we honor Tzaddik by continuing our own work, pursuing peace, kindness, and love in the world. May we have an easy path laid in front of us. Aho.
Oh.
Thank you, Orit. Lovely. So, we're dedicating this webcast to Tzaddik. And over the course of time that I was in communication with him, he changed and expanded his name. So he took on the last name of HaMoshiach, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Did I get it right? When I first discovered him, as I'm constantly surfing the interwebs looking for folks on the same path or congruent paths toward helping save mankind from tyranny, as we are currently at war against very dark forces. I felt that he was endeavoring to be on the same compatible path, and I contacted Sheila O'Donnell, who goes by Shishi, who had collaborated with him on a previous event, and kind of checked in with her and said, boy, this guy's trying to do a whole lot of stuff, and you know him. I was basically asking her to vouch for him, and she did. So I endeavored to collaborate with Tzaddik, and frankly, I was not successful at collaborating with him. And through the course of that, as I got to know Orit, I discovered that she had similarly endeavored to collaborate with Tzaddik for about 10 years. And so we communicated with that a good deal. Orit, do you want to present a little recollection and appreciation, and also your, as always, candid, constructive, I don't even want to say critique, but candid, constructive perspective?
Truth. We don't need to go too deep into that, but I met Tzaddik 2013 when he took our program. He was already a full Mesa carrier with Alberto Violdo's organization, the Four Winds Society, and he decided to go around again with us. It was obvious immediately that he's a unique human being, or unique mankind. His big heart was obvious from the beginning, as the walls that he built around it. So over the years, we kept in touch. He visited here, and then when he started with his organization Earthwalk, he called me and asked me to join, which I did. And one thing led to another when I realized that I hugely overcommitted myself. I was a member of three or four of the subcommittees, and each one had its own Zoom call or StreamYard actually once a week, and then other things. And I mean, who can do that? And Tzaddik got pretty demanding about it. So I backed away. I kept one of the committees, and eventually left that one too, because it became obvious that Tzaddik actually is placing obstacles in front of himself. And he was not able to move forward with any of the things. He had great ideas. Really great ideas. He did some productions, big productions, small productions, all kinds of things, but it never really went anywhere. And little by little, we discovered that Tzaddik is a little too self-absorbed to really take the organization forward, and that's when I decided to leave. It got a little ugly. He threatened to sue the people that left the organization, which were the majority of the people in the organization. So I kept quiet. I wasn't worried or anything, but I kept quiet. During the time that I did work with him, I really tried to help him to the best of my ability. The program that he took was at I think the second year that we ran that program. So since then, there was a lot of evolution. So I kept sending him things that we suggest for people to do to, you know, get inside all those demons, all those shadows, all those dark places. But it seemed that he never really followed up with any of the suggestions. So I gave up at some point, because 10 years, I think, is enough. I got the call yesterday from one of our graduates who was actually referred by Tzaddik to the program. And he graduated 3 years ago and then did it again the following year. So yeah, he called to let me know and to connect me to Tzaddik, Tzaddik's former girlfriend, who needs a little support. So I connected with her to offer her support, and life goes on. There is a reason why we are here.
Yes, indeed. So I thank you for calling me to let me know. Thought about it a lot throughout yesterday, and one of the things I notice is that similar people will be drawn to a person or an event or an organization, and maybe things don't go optimally, but similar people meet each other through that common person, or again, event or organization. So I thought, well, here's an opportunity to meet some of the people that all tried to collaborate while he was with us. And so I thought, well, I'm going to take a little chance and hopefully not offend anyone by offering an opportunity for us to communicate together and with honesty address some of the challenges that we all often have in collaboration, because there's so many similarities in the challenges that we have when we're trying to find common ground and find constructive ways of collaborating. One of the things that's come my way is the concept of being a professional facilitator. And it's unfortunately a rather expensive, time-consuming course to really do it optimally, but I'm starting to look into it. Many people have experienced these common challenges of, for instance, repeated meetings, and all that's resolved at the meeting is, well, we're going to have another meeting to talk about what we didn't get done in this meeting. And so the concept of being a professional facilitator with systems to address those kinds of challenges, I guess, has been developed and is out there. It's something I should learn, it seems. You know, there's Robert's Rules of Order, and there's all the other systems, but if you don't, especially in this realm of folks feeling assaulted by the systems that we thought, when we were more naive, were there to serve us, and then we've come to realize, oh, the systems are there to eat us. Folks have been moved to action, but they're not necessarily trained for it. So many of us are well-intentioned, yet often ill-equipped. And we've also, many folks, been damaged by the very system that inspires us to transcend that system. But the fact that you're damaged makes you aware of the problem, but not necessarily well suited to fix it. I worked with a drummer who knew darn well the problems of Western music and the technologies and the sound structures of drumming that were the opposite of holistic. But he wasn't able to build the new system to transcend that, although we tried. A lot of money and time went away as we tried. I'm still at it. His health has been really bad lately, so I don't think that fella is going to make it to implement the insights that he had. And obviously, Tzaddik's insights are not going to be actualized by Tzaddik, but perhaps those of us that knew him can, in his absence, continue the mission.
We're very much a problem-based society, not solution-based. And people like Tzaddik and many of us are out there seeking the solution so we can shift that instead of just creating band-aids or more problems down the road when we think that this is a good solution.
Yep. Whoever wants to opine, open floor.
Jody, it sounded like you know Tzaddik. For those of us, I had never heard about him until today. I'd love to get a little background.
Yeah, thank you. I'm based in Tucson, Arizona, where he was based. Anybody else here from Tucson? No? Oh, wait. I'm on a cell phone, so I can barely see. Who is that? I can't see the name. Sorry, it's a little too small. But
It's Marisha.
Oh, Marisha. Hi, I'm not sure if
I'm from Tucson too.
Oh, okay. And you're still here in Tucson?
Yeah.
Oh,
I am.
great.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to meet in person. Good to virtually meet you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. So where to start? I mean, in part, I feel I need to share a bit of my background because that's kind of how we came together in some sense. But I moved to Tucson from Philadelphia in 2005, and I pretty much hit the ground running, trying to figure out who's who around town. I'm a networker type person, among many other things, Renaissance woman here. I'll get into in a bit. I might have met him, I think, in 2009, or maybe the later part of 2008, because I moved here mid-2008. So I've known him for quite a while. And he had started ecstatic dance here in Tucson. So me being a dancer, among many things, and an event organizer, among many things, I was involved with that. And I'm not sure how long that lasted. I can tell you the end of that story is that it imploded because of his ego that he was aware that he had. But somewhere along the line, anyway, in 2009, 10, 11, no, 12, 11, 10. 2010 through 2013, I created a water festival to raise awareness about water issues in the desert. And it brought together artists, scientists, politicians, green businesses, wellness providers, Native American community, lots of organizations, on and on and on, with incredibly diverse programming from symposiums, art show, water ritual, community poem, community brainstorms on various topics, water solutions contest, so many things, a mermaid in a wishing well, film festival, lots of stuff. And Tzaddik knew of my organizing capacity. And in 2011, he came to me to basically create Earthwalk for him. Within 8 weeks, something like this, like something, or maybe it was 5. It was really relatively impractical, but he was gung-ho, and I'm also a movement builder, and I'll get a little more into that. And I designed the logo, designed the fundraising packet, all the design materials. I'm also a graphic designer. And I put together all of the elements logistically. He did some by bringing a pretty large group of people together as far as committee goes. At the time, I would say at some organizing meeting, there might have been 20-ish people for the event, something like this. And I was his right hand, or maybe the hand in making the event happen. Although he had a lot of the ideas, but I helped him work the ideas. He wanted to do this really big labyrinth. We ended up making it out of straw bale. I did a performance piece also as part of that. And, but he called me his Lord and personal savior. I was his advisor. I was his confidant. I was his healer, because I do healing modalities as well. And I was just trying to find his soul contract chart. I do soul contract readings, among many things, which determines people's karmic challenges, soul talents, soul goals, and soul purpose while you're here in this lifetime, your soul destiny. I'm sidetracking a little, but I do recall, I'd have to dig it up, but I recall he has particular configuration or amount of numbers, this particular number symbol, and it has a very strong message that whatever you do will come back to you multifold, like exponentially, like more than the typical person, good or bad. That's one thing I recall from his chart. And just that he changed his name so many times adds so many layers and complexity that it made things probably worse. And I can see why he spiraled out of his mind in some ways. But anyway, I digress. So I did this event for him, and it was pulled off. It was successful in that it was a beautiful event. People enjoyed it. Some people had issues with him. I smoothed them out. I'm a facilitator as well. And he promised me payment, and he didn't pay the full amount, and he owed me quite some debt. And at the time, it really affected my life. My father died, and I didn't have the funds to really go out to see him. I, racked up credit card. This was when I was working with a nonprofit community arts organization with my then partner, civic engagement group through the arts, and it didn't make much money. It was really sweat labor, you know. But anyway, that's another story. But at the time, I saw that there was some value in doing this event, and I love bringing people together. So it was a beautiful thing. Some beautiful photos, and Tzaddik continued to use the logo without fully paying for things, and it was an issue. And anyways, he didn't pay several other people, and that has been a real issue for him, that he could not pay his debt, but he also tried to escape it in many ways, and then get hostile in many ways. In 2015, I met my then fiance, and I went off my passion purpose path. I was at the time leading an entrepreneurs group, had a startup company that was multifaceted, lots of stuff there. And anyway, I got involved with my partner's legal matters. He taught me law. And I ended up being involved with all that, and he died in 2021, and I was managing 11 complex legal cases after he died, and I'm just winding that down now. So anyway, I knew a little bit more about contract law, is to say. So as far as paying debts and all sorts of stuff, we've been in and out of contact over the years, and he had come to Tucson more recently, I would say toward the end of this last year, somewhere October, November-ish of 2023. And we did meet, and I was hesitant. You know, he came to an ecstatic dance, and he was there in presence, and how do I even approach this person who has caused so much hurt in the community, a lot of hurt. And yet I have compassion because I know his heart is in the right place. And we've had many philosophical discussions. We have many alignments, serendipitous, zeitgeist, same ideas or similar ideas regarding what he was trying to do, except I'm more of an implementer besides having the ideas. And we had a meeting sometime November, I think. It was like a 3-hour discussion to catch up, basically, and just, you know, feel things out. And because he said he wanted to make amends or figure a way how to pay me and others. And it was a long discussion, but then he told me he was still on food stamps. And I asked him, well, you know, I put my life and business coach hat on. Well, how are you going to repay? You know, what is your plan? What's your, you know, all this stuff, all that stuff. You know, talked about relationship with money, self-worth, all that. And so he tasked me to figure out for him what is an alternative method that he can pay me back, basically. And I had asked him, you know, what, you know, for his assignment, if you will, you know, what is his plan for, you know, developing financial resources, even just for himself personally. And I think it was the next day, he got really angry that I was prying into his life in that sense. And then somehow later on, he invited me to present at an event of his. He was going on some sort of tour. He was saying he's going to have, you know, Kennedy Jr. speak at his event, or something like go up and down California coast or DC, something like this. And anyway, he was doing some sort of event either here in Tucson or online. He wanted me to speak. And I said, well, I'll get back to him on that, just like feeling it. Like, you know, could I maybe get something out of it by promoting my courses or other services, healing modalities, dance workshops, event coordination, life business coaching, whatever. And then I started to learn more about it. He only wanted, like, I saw his schedule, itinerary. It was so impractical. Like, he had a bunch of speakers to speak for 3 minutes and 33 seconds, or something like this. And anyway, I was really busy at the time and didn't feel I could put something together, like, really on that short notice. And I found out from a friend that he was leveraging my name already, saying that I was going to be a speaker, and, oh, Jody's going to get involved with building the movement, so it'll be huge, kind of thing. And my friend told me about this, and she happened to record the conversation. And I then talked with Tzaddik about it, like, hey, I hear you're leveraging my name before I even commit to your event. And then he yelled at me, like, all you people in Tucson are, you know, haters, or, you know, or things like this. And I'm like, I don't have the space in my life right now. I said, you know, look, I am really busy at this moment, trying to wind down all this stuff so I can restart my life where I left off in 2015. And anyway, he told someone else some really blasphemous, defaming things, which came back to my partner, who he told me that I need to block him from my phone. And I never blocked anybody from my phone. I really strongly believe in open communication. But in this instance, because he was threatening to sue, all this stuff, even then I really needed to hear whatever he's saying, even to document. But, you know, for my relationship and creating boundaries, learning how to create boundaries, I proceeded to block him. I then heard from someone else that he sent a group chat to several people, about 12, with me included, but I didn't get it because he was blocked from my phone. And he said that he tried to reach out for me for settlement sometime January, and because I didn't respond, he's absolved of all debt, which isn't how contract law works. So just because I don't accept an offer or know about it doesn't mean you're absolved of the debt. You're just not accepting that type of settlement offer. But then he threatened, for, like he did with this other person, saying that I was defaming him and threatening to sue. He was also doing the same to all the people in that group chat, which apparently were all people, like really key people who had some interactions with him, and similar to others here, I presume. And then some people just left the conversation or blocked him, all that kind of stuff. And at some point I unblocked him, because I just, in my heart, I just can't block someone. I just like that. But I didn't hear from him. And I guess next thing I know, I find out he's, you know, a few months later, he took his own life. And in some ways, I knew that he had a big ego early on. I've heard from other people and other groups he was involved with that imploded because he had an ego. Though it wasn't until more recently that it seemed to be increasingly more pathological in a way. I saw him at an ecstatic dance, and he said, I'm looking at him like he's crazy or mentally ill. you know, which I was just getting out of a conversation with someone that was pretty intense, and you know, Tzaddik's trying to tell me about some other event, and I just didn't have the bandwidth. And then I heard he was self-proclaiming as a messiah. He wrote also some letter saying he has another mentor who I know personally, who now runs a multi-million-dollar business after being bankrupt in 2016. And said, you know, Tzaddik said, oh, this guy is my mentor. I'm going to be the most popular person in the world or richest person in the world on all levels and blah, 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 blah. Like, okay, something's seriously going awry here. So yeah, and then he started some sort of cryptocurrency, and during the ecstatic dance events, he was stopping people in the middle of the dance floor and showing people things on his phone, like in the middle of the dance floor. It was just inconsiderate. So I guess with narcissistic tendencies, there's just the absence of consideration of other people's space and boundaries or feelings. And he was definitely exhibiting those. So anyway, I feel it is so necessary to, yes, voice our experiences and our pains, and also have a certain level of compassion and grace for ourselves, for the engagement, and for him, and whatever soul history and human history he has, in order for us to learn the lessons and do something positive with that. He was a troubled soul. He told me some things that I think no one else in the world knows. Now that he has passed, I feel maybe it's okay to share. A little context, his family, his mother and father, were pretty well off financially, and so he had issues with money, just feeling guilt around it, I believe. And his sense of self-worth in some deep way was probably damaged because it conflicts with what a lot of spiritual people struggle with, you know, feeling spirituality is incongruent with financial gain or money. There's a lot to say about that. Money is it's not what it is, it's what you do with it. You know, philanthropy is a good use of it, for example. Supporting sustainable companies, that's a really good use of it. Or initiatives. So anyway, so he was always seeking some love. Love was a huge thing for him. Love this, love that. And sometimes he'd be passive aggressive. Blast, blast, blast. But I love you. So I don't know how many people have experienced that. But the secret that he told me that no one else may know in the world, he probably told people that he was raped by a babysitter. I don't recall what age that was, but then...
Sorry to let you know, but everyone who knows him knows it.
Okay, knows that. But then, I don't know if you know that he basically manipulated his sister and did incest.
Yep.
Okay. I was probably the first person he told, because at the time he said he's never told anybody before, and I was really close to him, like on a personal level, like coach wise in some sense. So but not everybody knows that. And She died.
Or one of the reasons that our committee meetings were not very fruitful ever is that at least 50% of the meeting was him sharing about himself.
Got it.
So
Thanks for saying that. Yeah. And his traumas or dramas, all that, right? Yeah. So unfortunately, that's not very productive. So anyway, she died of cancer, from a rare cancer between her legs, which I sense is related to all that. So he might have the additional guilt of that with his sister. So anyway, I don't want to take up all the time here. I just have a lot of personal history, and when I was 5 years old, I'm a very intuitive person, channel 2. I've had visions that actually came true, or saw things, very connected on that level. At 5 years old, I was told I'm to be a communicator for love and world peace, and that art and creativity would be a big part of it. And I have implemented a lot of that in various ways throughout my life. But I have to say, now that he is gone, there feels like a certain kind of weight or block that is lifted or removed. That now there feels to be more space to do that. I still want to honor his memory because he did try to do a good thing. At the core, he had a lot of great ideas, which I've actually thought of too. So, chicken and egg there. And so I respect that. I just wish that it didn't come from such a hurt place and that he ended up hurting others in the process. And there needs to be a widespread community healing regarding that. There's a lot of people here in Tucson that have had interactions with him over the years. And I was talking with a friend who I met also during the Earthwalk event, and he was also not paid, although his was only just a couple $100. For me, it was a little more than that, a lot more. And but anyway, we were planning to do something target date on the 8th of this month, for a kind of mix of this, supposedly, but like grieving, but going into grace, and healing and all of that. So maybe mark your calendars April 8th for a redo of this, but with more people, especially here from Tucson, if you can. That's a tentative date, but I will post something on his page as soon as that is more formulated, and maybe there'll be some creative expressions and from various people. We'll see.
If I may, if this is still a tentative date, I would change it. People are going to be very, very occupied with the solar eclipse on that day.
Oh, right. It is the solar eclipse. I'm sorry. You're right. I just spoke to him minutes before hopping onto this, and we're like, oh, calendars. But yes, thank you so much for that reminder. Yes. Anyway, yeah, good point. The 8th is a Monday, right?
You need Virgos in your life.
Love that. Okay, if there's any other suggestions, open to it. Just know that it's tricky here in Tucson. On the 5th, 6th, and 7th, there's the Tucson Folk Festival. So a lot of tribe people will be at that. So that was part of the problem. And then there's Easter, this weekend. So it's a little tricky to pick a date, but maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that week could be a possibility. But I will talk to my friend about that. But
if we have internet by then.
Yeah, right.
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Well, yeah. Well, right. Mercury retrograde and all that too.
Yeah.
Who knows? So throw a solar flare in there. Why not?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll talk about it. You know, if we want to exchange contact info, I'm open to, you know, collaboration on this. Just I know a lot of people here in Tucson where he lived most of his life.
Mm-hmm. A question.
So, yeah.
Are you in contact with the shamanic community there, which he was very connected to?
I'm just getting back into community after my legal black hole. So
Okay.
I'm a little out of touch with groups. But if I know to contact someone, I'll be on it. So
okay, so let's stay in touch because
yeah,
you know, the Celia Blackwood, does that ring a bell?
the name does.
Okay,
From
so
many years ago.
she's the leader of that that group, that tribe.
Okay, we might even be Facebook friends.
Mm.
Blackwood, right?
Blackwood, yes.
Okay. And I know other people who know other groups and people, like Tom Mendola, if you know that name.
Mm.
Yeah, he's been around for many years. He lives in Hawaii now, but he knows probably a lot of people. He's kind of a butterfly. He hops around in different groups. So, but yeah, it'd be great to reconnect with community too. You know, on a personal level, I think, you know, this is leaving space also to just come back in and network people together as I used to. And just meet people, you know, say hello. What are you doing? I want to know. Let's help each other, you know, that kind of thing. So anyway, I spoke way lots. I realize I do have a lot of history with him, and there's probably more I could even talk about, but I really want to provide space for everybody else here, and I would love to know a little more about who you are too, what you do, and what you feel you'd like to do moving on forward from here.
Jody.
Well, thank you, Jody, for being so transparent.
I didn't expect the conversation to take that path. I was actually hoping for the another side to Orit's, but it seems like there's so many of us and so many of these collectives and groups that hear about amazing souls that have so much potential and are able to share so much with everyone. Yet we know that we are the only ones that ever stand in our own way. And to hear about issues that some of us may have that are unresolved, and to have them come up over and over and over again, and moving from different groups and continuing these types of patterns, to have something, like you said, certain blocks in our way that are not becoming resolved. And it's you know, certain people out there that I've met, maybe not at this level, but to see the continuation, whether they're doing ayahuasca ceremonies, they're doing the plant work, and they continue doing this work and still having these same issues. And are you really doing the work that you need to be doing, that we all need to be doing? And the conclusion that I've come to oftentimes is that until there's a peer, one of the ways maybe is until there's a peer that comes along that we truly look up to, that sits us down and shakes us a little bit and says, hey, what are you doing? You want to be this big, beautiful, amazing influencer, and able to rally and really build this community that we all want to really become the leader that we want to. But until that person comes along that we truly look up to, even though we all look up to each other as friends and we love each other and we take so much of what we say into consideration, until that happens, that person, it's not like it's like there's somebody that's not bigger than them that is telling them, hey, the world works a little bit different than the way that the filter that you're putting everything through. And there's more people that are being hurt through this process than are actually being helped. Even though there's a lot of help happening, it becomes haphazard in the process of this. And there's damage left in your trail, which we all are going to hurt hearts at some point. It's the one thing we cannot inadvertently do, but we can move through life, primum non nocere, first doing no harm as much as we possibly can. And we can understand that very simply. But for some reason, there are some blockages. There's some things that need to really be cleared. And it sounds like you work at that level to possibly help clear things for people. But if they're not willing to do the work, these issues keep on coming up, the lessons keep on coming up, and they get worse and heavier when we don't resolve them.
Yes.
Wow.
I since I learned in response, since I learned the modality of soul contract readings, which reveals people's karmic challenges to transmute them into gifts, their soul talents, their soul goals, and really what would make them feel fulfilled in this lifetime, and then their soul purpose and destiny in this life. It gives so much clarity, and it allows for compassion that everybody has their karmic challenges. Everybody has their own shit. Some have stronger symbols, some have weak symbols, numbers, and it's sometimes name optimizations need to happen. Now in his case, he optimized it so many times, it added so much complexity and just confused the whole thing. I also do divine healing, which heals stress, trauma, imbalances, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, attachments, ego patterns, addictions, God conscious connections, DNA repair. I mean, you name it, sexual abuse, it has it, this modality. And it heals multidimensionally and throughout time frames. And I never got to do a session on him, and it might have helped, but we were out of touch for a while, and so it just never happened. But I intend to use these modalities to help others and my own sensibilities and intuitive senses. So there is a way to do massive amount of healing, and I feel it comes from identifying, even in the most vitriolic situations. I mean, I facilitated volcanoes against each other, and they ended up hugging each other by the end of it. Okay, so it's possible. It's possible by finding the common thread of concern and need in people's beingness and doingness, and it's if you can come to some sort of understanding on that and compassion of, everybody has their own baggage and all that kind of stuff, we can actually see each other more. Now, there's some people, narcissists, for example, who don't want to look at themselves, or they want to especially assign blame to others or gaslight. It's ironic that Tzaddik was born on the same day as Trump. Sorry if there's any Trump supporters here, but I have a sense maybe not. I appreciate his independent sense of vigor, but morally bankrupt, besides filing bankruptcy many times. But anyway, Tzaddik has some shared traits. He's a spiritual version of Trump in many ways. Exaggeration, some sort of gaslighting, blame, not willing to look at himself, leveraging people unethically without truth, things like this. So anyway, all this to say is there is a way to break through all that, the misinformation, and have a more balanced sense of responsibility. And I had this download just recently, and now I think I might need to teach more on this. But there's too much responsibility and too little responsibility. So some of us put on too much responsibility, that we have to heal the entire world. I think Tzaddik had some of that. He put on this, like, he is the Messiah, he has to heal the world, and yet he had too little responsibility involving his ego mind. Like, he wouldn't take responsibility also for his self-care. He was pretty grungy. And even on my Facebook post where I was like coming out, as I'm regaining my voice, on my birthday, February 24th, you can look my Facebook post, pretty vulnerable there. He made a post, something about, I have not showered in 47 days, ironically. And then I made a logo with a phoenix in it or something, because I said rising like a phoenix, in my post. So he put it back onto him, and he was divulging to everybody about his lack of self-care and lack of hygiene. But anyway, I think there needs to be a balance of responsibility and our sense of responsibility, like how we show up in the world and how we show up in our lives, how we show up with each other in relation to the earth, in relation to, spiritual dimensions, So anyway, it's a larger topic, but I think he just did not want to face his own responsibility and took on too much responsibility that he could not handle. It's not possible for him to do by himself, even though he wanted to think he could. So,
well, Jody, you absolutely addressed briefly what I feel is one of the core topics in our entire world, and that is narcissism.
Yes.
I had my own run-in, which showed me firsthand, not just in theory, but what it's like to be assaulted and robbed by a narcissist, and it was not pleasant. So, that sidetracked my life for the last few years since then. So, Asmith, your perspectives, and Jody, your optimism that something could have been done are wonderful ideas. But, Orit spent 10 years trying to coach and assist Tzaddik, and he theoretically had a lot of respect for Orit and for Jody and for Adam Apollo, for instance, who was one of our speakers here at an event that I co-created called Liberty's Horizon, which was a major event in San Diego. And I talked with Adam there, not having met him, but having seen him remotely at one of Tzaddikk's early events, at least in the course of the time that I've known him. And Adam was someone whom Tzaddik went from respecting greatly and collaborating with very seriously to naming in one of his lawsuit attempts. So when narcissism is in the mix, generally, and I don't want to generalize because I'm not a trained psychologist, psychiatrist, or even an official coach, but from what I hear, narcissists, and I came up with a term called narcissistish. Someone could have a narcissistish day, or just be feeling a little narcissistish just for a while, But a true narcissist does not want constructive critique, will not respond to coaching, is not attempting to self-improve.
Exactly. Will not attempt to self-improve, even when they have the tools and given the tools again and again and encouraged to. They refuse to look at themselves. exactly.
And theories vary in terms of, some theorists say narcissists actually have really horrendous low self-esteem, and they're creating a false persona to bolster and protect that. And other theorists say, no, actually, they really do believe that they're all that. Well, there's probably variety.
Yeah.
Almost everything to me
And it
seems to
can
be
be-
on a gray scale, and you can't overgeneralize.
Yeah,
But-
it can be day in, day out. It can be day in, day out, depending on their mood, right?
All
and
right.
on the day out, they may do something like Tzaddik just did.
Now, fortunately, there's a lot of narcissism experts, and I've been watching a bunch of them, which is kind of how I navigated through my challenge, which was September of 2021. And I did get most of my property back, and that was almost miraculous. I did not see it coming. I didn't see it coming the way that it happened. But through the way that I dealt with that person, I think that's why I did get my stuff back. So I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I do feel that narcissism is so ubiquitous and so problematic in our world, which has been so top down and so controlled by people who are, gravitate toward that sense of megalomania, etc. It would seem that, hey, why not? There seem to be no repercussions. People get away with murder and a lot less, and a lot worse, as we've seen in the last few years of COVID chaos. And if that ain't been driven by narcissism, I don't know what is. So I think that this issue of narcissism and a few other topics are really important for us to address. And my vision for what the ManKinder ministry or ManKinder mission or the ManKinder movement may be, to build a kinder world for mankind. And I've been thinking more and more about how to express that and how to best communicate that. I think without kindness and without checking ourselves for, is what you're doing for in service to self or in service to others, or an adept balance between? And is there a strong element of kindness? And frankly, I think part of why I brought us together today, and thank you all for joining in, is that I hate to put it this way, but by sharing information, we can help protect each other and our world from wasting time with those who would spin our wheels on, sounds good on paper, but ain't gonna fly. We got to raise the bar and let the cream come to the top, or whatever metaphors you want to use, and find the people who can really
How about reconstruct
make
the water?
this world work.
Right, Kimberly?
Reconstruct the water. That's a good one.
Reconstruct the waters.
Dr. Emoto,
I'll
I
tell you
did a
one thing,
performance.
Jody.
Well,
Jody, I was so delighted to hear what you were saying about your water festival, because you wouldn't know this necessarily, but the gal right under me here in the screen, Kimberly, that's her thing.
No,
So,
that was let me be clear. Hold on.
Really,
That was my downfall.
synergies.
That was my self-implosion. That was my
You've just
shit,
barely
I can't
gotten
do it like
started.
this. And
You
that
just
was
barely
my,
gotten started.
Well, that's what's so funny. Everything you're just like, because I'm an outsider coming in. I'm just gonna pause. I'm just gonna listen. I just gotta pause because I don't know anybody, right? I don't know you guys, and I don't know this brother that took his last breath, right? I don't know.
He's tried in ways, he was a challenging part of the tribe, but we're all here together. And
That's why I want to do things alone, with all due respect. and it's also who I am. in some really fucked up ways. Because I owe kids money from my festival, but this is the difference. See, like, I don't want to take another step until I make that right.
Mhm.
And so I'm not pulling anybody into my story, see? It's my shit.
You wanna come up?
So I just want to say peace and mercy to all beings, especially those that do not yet know. And I just also want to follow that with the universal water prayer, because water has taught me transition is a, that is a sacred time. And our universal water prayer is love, gratitude, harmony, healing, conscious awakening within I being, love, gratitude, harmony, healing, conscious awakening for all beings. Because that's what it's about, right? It's about going home. It doesn't matter how we get there.
Yeah.
But you know what does matter? It's the fucking imprint we leave, especially with our words.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I have learned that I just want to talk kindness into my waters. And I'm willing to detach from all reality in order to do so. Because I don't need no clusterfuck in my life, with all due respect.
Makes it a lot easier. Out of sight, out of mind.
Man, like, I think if, like, we slow down and just, take the time to appreciate the journey, like, really understanding that we're here to help the children and those in the last breath. Everything else in between it's a play, man. And we're scripting it. And so I'm going to script mine a little bit differently. I'm going to watch my words from now on, because this eclipse that's coming up, it's a game changer. There's a lot of shit happening and a lot of shit going down, and a lot of people exiting the planet. With all due respect to this brother who's opening this doorway in this conversation. And so I think we should be praying for them all, because a lot more are about to leave. And we should be recognizing the delusions, whether it's in our own perceptions that we're putting out into the world, or that's being manipulated and the thoughts being put in our fucking head. We don't even know the difference anymore. That's what's wrong with this poor kid, man. He didn't know the difference between his thoughts and thoughts that were put in his head. It's that simple. It comes down to sound frequency, knowing the source of your information, which is frequency, sound, and light. Knowing the source of your water is the foundation, so that information can transmit clearly at a cellular level. And knowing the source of your food, because that's the essence of how we just are on this planet, it's part of the gift, is becoming vital. And so, like, in this roller coaster of this storyline of this being's life, I think it's wise to learn from other people's mistakes, but be careful what you say. I don't know, man. I don't know. All I know is I want to co-create. I'm doing it. No one's going to stop me. I'm giving it to the kids. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I love you guys. And let's see, who's that sister? That's small wording. Who's that sister? Hi, sister Marlene. I can't read it, guys. Oh, thank you. Yay. I would love to hear her beautiful voice, too.
Oh, my goodness. So I knew Tzaddik through Global Chant. And I knew him for a very long time. And I also knew that I didn't need to know him any more than I knew him, because I had so much stuff going on in my own life that it was taking all my energy, even here recently. And upon finding out about his death, I had this overwhelming feeling that, oh God, why didn't I call him, talk to him? What could it have changed something? And even my son felt the same way. And Kimberly, you said that about the children. I recently, back in November, got my little granddaughter living with me. And so my plate's full. I had to focus all my energy on this little child that came into the world addicted. And so that's where my energy has been. And I didn't have anything to give or to try to figure out, as I watched from the sidelines of what was going on in all of Tzaddik's posts on Facebook. I had to just stay out of it, and intuitively knew that I didn't want to engage with it, because that it could go down a path that I wasn't prepared to have it go down. I have enough shit going. And so I just had to muddle through my own stuff and just bless him wherever he was at. So sometimes he would come in gangbusters and want to, I would say, how are you doing? I haven't heard from you in a while. And then just the way that just the energy, just the feeling of the energy of what he was placing in front of me made me not engage. So most of my relationship with him has been not engaging. And yet I felt that as I was on the sidelines, that I was holding him, holding him and just letting him be and do whatever it is that he needed to do. And I had hope for him. I'm sad that he's gone. And it's another person that I have to heal from. So, but my little Isla, she's 10 months, 11 months old, She's going to be a year in May. So, and my son lives with us, and so we're collectively taking care of what we have in front of us.
How is her recovery?
Well, she, it's interesting because she seems like she did not have like the normal situations of coming into this world addicted. And I don't know if I don't know, and I don't want to engage with her mother to find out, because you're talking to an addict, and usually when you're talking to an addict, there's lies that come with that. So even if I'm asking her, so how much methamphetamine did you?
You don't have to ask her, honey.
No.
You just do a detox. Just naturally do a heavy metal detox, and you have to do it according to her size, right? Get her to some sacred springs.
What do you do?
Just take her to some sacred springs, some sacred waters, right? And you go to findaspring.com. And you'll find a source that's closest to you, and drive there and take that water, and then bring that water back. And I would do a special family baptism for her, a healing baptism in the sun with song. And I would also encourage, if you can, play the sound of bees when you're doing it.
The sound of bees?
Yes.
Okay.
And have a beautiful song that you're going to share with her. Have it a family song that you're going to sing to her all the time, because you're going to imprint her waters, and you're going to thank the Creator for allowing her to be the perfected creation that she is. and that will restructure her water instantly. And it allows the beehive is 528 hertz, which heals DNA at a cellular level. And so by doing all these things at once, you're literally creating cellular memory for her. And she'll always have this in her waters wherever she goes in the world. And you're giving her a spiritual toolkit that will literally be in her DNA. And so it's beautiful that, you know, she's a fighter. I can't wait till she gets old.
She is such an enlightened being.
Bring her to my sanctuary, because I'm writing a musical for the children, but I'm opening up a water sanctuary where we do really fun family activities.
Where are you?
I'm in near Asheville, North Carolina, in the Appalachian Mountains.
Did you know him? Because he was in Asheville for a little while.
I'm sure he was, but I am a weirdo, and I was so hurt from my experience that I had to pull away from the community, because kids are running around not knowing what they're doing, to be quite frank. The person that destroyed me called himself a sound healer and a minister, and brought in demonic music to my festival that hurt the children. And so I had to take the hits. I literally had to stand there and take hits, and, you know, take it, not even for the team, I had to protect the kids. And so I had to fail miserably to learn how to do it correctly, so I can make sure it's replicated everywhere around the world in sister water sanctuaries. And that can be in anybody's backyard, eventually in everybody's house, right? Because we're all a temple. But right now I have the opportunity, and I know how to connect it to everybody, kind of like what we're doing. Because the reason why nothing works, because nothing's consistent, people don't show the fuck up, and people don't know how to do the work anymore. So I've learned how to implement that in everybody's own backyard, at their frequency, with their music, with their culture, with their belief structure, because it's all around water, and because everybody needs clean water. You can't even heal if you're sick. You can't even heal properly. You won't heal properly unless you have proper water as your foundation. And so once we recognize this and start communicate, so what I'm here on earth to do is remind people the arising of the language of water, which is the oldest language on the universe. Then there was sound.
That's so important.
That called forth the light. And so when you utilize these frequencies in the waters, then the language of water becomes a feeling language, transcending light and sound, but light and sound is always a part of it, right? So this is why what you're doing for your granddaughter is taking her out in the sun into the sacred. So you're going to gather 10 gallons of sacred water at a spring. You're going to bring it home, put it in a tub. You're going to put her in that tub. She's going to be splashing and playing and being so happy in that sun. And you're going to be singing a song and playing the sound of beehives, playing the sound of the sun is also very, very healing. But I almost don't recommend it because she'll get downloads. She'll get major downloads. And right now she just needs to enjoy her time with her grandma in the water and play, right? And so what you're doing is you're making it so, okay, so we're going to get deep really quick, and then I'm going to pause. We're making it so you're becoming her mama, so that when she's in trouble in life, it's almost like you shared the waters, right? Because she's a part of your waters because of your lineage. But now you're creating a ceremony where now when she needs help in life, she's calling you, right? Is that how we're working it, right? So let's just go ahead and create that ceremony now. And then there's going to be that song that you sing to her and the story that you tell her about this beautiful baptismal that you gathered the water. Do you see how this works? So what you're doing, love, is you're writing your script and how you want to create your life and your granddaughter's life. Because if you don't write your own script, shit's going to happen at you.
I kind of feel like I'm already doing that with her.
Yeah, you are.
I am.
So good.
I am, because I kind of took possession of her,
Yeah, you did.
I mean, we have
Grandma, get her.
She's not here today, but because she has 2 days with her mom, and I kind of feel like her mother just wants to be the cool mom and have her for a couple of days, and then the rest of the time she's with me or with my son. But I do
work out great because mom needs healing. And
The mom does
need
need
baby.
healing, and I do support
know?
her. I support her in her healing, in her journey.
You're going to bring mom to this sanctuary, and I'm going to teach mom some martial arts. I'm going to kick her ass a little bit, and we're going to knock her down, and she's going to get her ass back up. She's going to take care of that baby like she needs to, because she's going to have fun with the baby. And so we just have to help teach mom how to rewrite her story, right? And listen, what's happening with mom is exactly what's happening with every young person on this planet, right?
Right.
It's not this isn't an isolated incident. This isn't weird. This is fucking us going, hey, let's be a family. Let's get together. Let's have community. Now, you're the grandma where everyone's going to come bring their babies, and you're going to create these new kind of beautiful baptisms, because we can't even use that word pretty soon once we learn the etymology of it. So we have to make up new words even, right? And so this is you doing it with the new generation, because she's bringing in some great gifts to you, man. Like it's going to be, yeah. So make sure you guys come out, bring the whole family, because that's what we're doing. It's a place where you can come camp. If you don't want to camp, you can Airbnb. It's good enough to where you can make it as comfortable as you need to. But the other good thing is we teach you surviving skills into thriving skills, and it's just being. And that's why I loved what you said. All my attention just went into this one, like what's in front of me, into the now. That's walking the miracle path, man.
Exactly.
You're doing brilliant. And like I want to co-create with people like you, because you'll spring up a water sanctuary in your community. And what we're about to create, you'll be able to have a live stream of what I'm doing every weekend and make money, like in a watered down version, like just, a head count. Remember, okay, yo, you guys are my age. Remember when we used to go to house parties and it was like $10 a head to get in the backyard? Well, this time we're going to do that, but with no beer, no alcohol. Keep your fucking clothes on. We don't want that kind of thirsty. Keep your Kundalini shit in another fucking retreat. I don't want to see your shit. And we're going to have fun like a kid, right? And so we're going to do this in a way where we're having a clear connection with the language of water, because then you can go do all those other things, your little journeys and these ayahuasca retreats or whatever, but then you'll have a true healing perspective of what you're going to need coming out of that trip, which is going to be good, clean water, right? And so this is like what I'm doing as far as, but at the same time, am I doing it right now? No, I'm still cleaning. Like we had a huge storm here. I'm literally cutting wood for the next 3 weeks. It's even pushing back my opening date, which is fine, right? So you just go with the flow, and everything's going to arise when it's supposed to. The good thing is that I'm doing something every single day, building on the ideas and the dreams that I have to do on my off days when it's like raining or snowing and I have to do other things. And so I'm really excited to like co-create with you guys, because I hope we could have these kind of conversations where they're productive, sharing solutions and information with each other and having inspiration for one another too, because we're all holding the light in different parts of the world, right? And so I just want to, thank you guys for having me with you. And, it's such an honor to get to know all of you. So thank you guys so much. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just wrapping it. We need that wrap up button from Dave Chappelle, right? Wrap it up. Just kidding. Okay, I'll stop.
Kimberly, I just want to share that I'm usually here on these calls, and last week I couldn't be there, and there you were. But I did watch it, and I totally fell in love with you. So the minute we learn to relocate at a push of a button, I'm showing up in your living room.
I'm not going anywhere, but I'm going on tour, sister. So have it any way you want it.
I'll
find you.
I presume you know the work of Dr. Emoto. Yes.
Yes.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Do you know the work of Veda Austin?
Yes. She actually spoke online at.
Oh, you do. I know you do, but Judy.
No, I don't. But I met Dr. Emoto, and he donated children's books to my water festival.
Oh, that's
so nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Nice.
I
and
love
did a
that.
dance performance.
Look up Veda Austin. Look up
How do
Veda
you
Austin.
How do you spell it?
VEDA Austin, like Austin.
Oh, Austin. Oh, okay. Veda Austin.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you for that.
sure.
I also, I mean, this is a lovely conversation regarding water, and I don't want to lose sight of a topic too that was brought up earlier regarding narcissism. I know we're going back to the dark side a little, but if I may, because I agree, it is a huge topic, and I also have more recently came into it. I was executive director of a nonprofit organization that I helped to build that was inspired by my prior work. A friend of mine was pulling me out of the legal darkness, and so created a live work place. And I rewrote this mission statement, which is to practice and promote sustainability, community, creativity, wellness, and housing solutions. And I didn't realize this, but I was told later, after she blamed me for everything, that she was really a narcissist. And so I also did the binge watch thing. You know, I went on YouTube, and there's Dr. Ramani and the crappy childhood fairy are two big ones. So if anybody wants to learn about narcissism and binge watch instead of Netflix, go at it. And it was a lot of damage.
What are the names of those?
Dr. Ramani, Ramani, and the crappy childhood fairy. And you learn a lot. You'll learn a lot regarding narcissism. And I agree and understand that these people don't want to see themselves or can't, you know. And sometimes they do things for the good in the community or what have you. But really the motive behind that is to make them look good. And there's so many. Say again?
It's almost always self-serving.
Almost always self-serving, yes. And there's so many different kinds. There's like the victimhood narcissist. You know, there's so many different kinds, and I forgot the name of them. But yeah, it's ultimately self-serving. And what do you do? What do you do with these kinds of people? Well, it sometimes you can't tell them they are narcissist, you know. In the case of Trump, I think we just all need to ignore him because that will diminish his power. It would just, he would implode. But that's not going to happen. So it's a redirection of energy is what I see. And you know, you don't want to banish these types of people to their own island. It's just not going to happen. I mean, these people are in our world, and the narcissistic tendencies is embedded in our American culture in some fashion. It's so deep in the DNA of our culture, where, you know, capitalist, you know, like, you know, off the backs of other people, you know, my dream, my American dream kind of thing, you know, hierarchical systems. It just race to the top. There's something about it of consumerism, you know, it's built into our culture and a lot of other cultures around the world. So, you know, there's clinical narcissism where you're actually diagnosed as a disorder. And then you can have narcissistic tendencies or traits, and you might have a very combination of those. And sometimes we all experience some level of that because we are in our own perspective. So sometimes it's hard to see another person's perspective. So there's different gradations. It's not a cut and dry thing. So acknowledging that, I think there's times when we need to create safe, gentle, but strong boundaries. And maybe it requires asking a person to leave, or you leave, we leave, or maybe find some role for them that is productive, that caters to their ego, but keeps a safe space away from other activities. And or just build your own tribe of people that don't involve narcissists, and they'll create their own islands. You can offer assistance. It's really hard to tell a person who's narcissist that they are narcissist, but maybe there is something you can do, but just keep in mind, they're really good at gaslighting. They're really good at taking advantage of people. So as long as you know and respect yourself, you can maybe ask that they respect others and speak your mind. At least you can speak your mind. At least you can create your own self-care, safe boundaries. But I'd like to have other people chip in here, because I really do agree. It is more pervasive. Maybe it's just become more aware in our cultural consciousness. Maybe there's more YouTube videos about it, so we're hearing about it, and then people are telling us about it. I didn't know Tzaddik was a narcissist per se. I knew he had a big ego, but now it's more like out there in the open, So maybe I'm just a late bloomer in coming to the information. But anyway, I'd like to hear more about this from other people, because if we are going to build community and a better world, some of these issues really need to be addressed, and hopefully creative and in a fun way, but in a soulful, meaningful way. Instead of attacking each other way, because that will bring more retaliation. So anyway, feedback, or feed forward, as I like to say. Any insight here?
Yeah, I want to bring a point. I agree that every narcissist has a bigger ego than required for our life. However, not everyone who has a big ego is a narcissist.
Yes, agreed.
Right. So we really have to kind of define that. Working with ego, in my opinion, is easier. It's something that I teach in my workshops. We have one of the 4 workshops in the year-long program is, half of it is dedicated to ego. So I think ego is workable. Narcissistic tendencies, I'm not sure. Because if the individual themselves is not able to look themselves in the mirror and to recognize who they are and how they carry themselves in the world, I don't think anything from the outside can help them. They have to see it themselves, and they have to want to heal that part of themselves. Without that, yeah. And it's hard to speak ill of someone who just passed, but Tzaddik was a narcissist. And I truly believe that he had an aspect of megalomania. Mm-hmm. So can you think of that combination?
They're similar, aren't they? I mean, how do you differentiate the traits?
Narcissistic is more about their behavior or how they carry themselves in the world. Megalomania, I think, is more about how they lead in the world, how they lead themselves and others, their dreams, who they're going to become, their aspirations. Yeah, that's what's coming through right now. There's probably more, but that's what's coming through right now. And he had both. He was really messed up, and he didn't see it. He did not see it. He did not recognize it. So there's not much you can do. I tried everything that you said, Asmat, about how to help those people. I have tried for 10 years. Everything that you said, I have tried for 10 years.
There's usually an angle I've found to be able to access somebody's mind, right? There's a graceful way to approach everybody, all of us, right? Instead of just having the thought, wanting to approach a person and say what's on our mind, yeah, we might get a little bit of stress there, a little bit of tension that we might experience. But when we take our time and actually think with the thoughts, right, let them soak for a second, marinate, all right, this approach may not be the most compassionate or get the best results. It's really tough with narcissism. I'd say that just like you, Jody, I hadn't experienced this until we went through our partnership separation a couple of years ago with our old brand. And the gaslighting, I had no clue what gaslighting truly was. I could have read a description on narcissism or any of this stuff, but until you experience it and actually see how the person operates, this mind operates in this very strange way, and you're questioning yourself and you go, wait, what's really going on here? And then you read the description again. Oh, wow, that's truly what is manifesting here. And it's really tough because we all want to help each other and assist ourselves. Being able to call yourself out is such an important thing. Call yourself out first if you possibly can, because then if we can solve the problem, then we don't have to bring it to somebody else, right? And find the solution very quickly. But the narcissistic tendency is it's a blame game. It's always somebody else. It's never me. And until if we didn't learn that, whatever that is as a child, that's where it comes from, obviously. Until we learn that, and like you said, being able to look ourselves in the mirror, we really truly can't see. We can't even understand if somebody approaches you and says, "Yo, you got narcissistic tendencies. You really need to check yourself a little bit." It's almost impossible to manage that. Very, very strange. And I'm sure some psychologist knows where these key factors, where these seeds get planted in a child's mind to where they think they're all that. And the ego is beautiful, finding that balance. I've had a really big ego at one point. It's called Hollywood Azimuth at one point, because I was down there for 10 years and I had to get checked as well. And then I went to the other side and then I had to smack my ego down. I didn't like it, right? But we need it. It's part of us, but the key is not letting the ego control us. That's the key, right? But work with it and allow our personality to come out and shine and share with one another. Such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And this really is, like I said earlier, this is just part of the healing process for a lot of people. It's really tough. It's cathartic. It's hard to talk about one another, our fellow family members, and those who have caused a lot of pain, been through so much pain, obviously, to be manifesting such expressions out into the world. But it's good to get things off our chest, to connect, right? There's a vetting process that's happening right now with all of us that don't know each other, but all of you beautiful women that have experienced such pain or struggle through these experiences with this man. That brings you closer together in a very interesting way, because you all understand what you definitely would not want to see in one another or any other man or female that would come through any of our family members that would approach us with such unconscious situations.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. It's like I mentioned before, the issue of responsibility, taking on a certain level of self-responsibility when you're affecting other people in negative ways, and spewing your ego everywhere, affecting people, like taking responsibility for that. And categorically, a lot of narcissists just do not want that responsibility. They don't see it.
I don't know if they don't want it. I don't want if they don't want it. They don't have the responsibility. They lack that. They're not able to responsibility.
Yes. Yeah. So we could only bring a horse to water, can't make it drink, kind of thing. So, there are some. Dr. Ramani has mentioned sometimes you can develop narcissism later in life. It's not just from childhood, and that makes me think that there's nature and nurture also. So some people, like, because I do soul contract readings, I can tell like some people are more predisposed to certain kind of behaviors than others, but then you could learn them along the way, or they could stem from some sort of lack of deprivation or abuse or something. So there's probably a lot of ways people become narcissists. Some people can be undone in that. It depends what the traits are, or whether they're really diagnosed as like the disorder type. And one has awareness and one doesn't and can't. So there's certain levels of what can we do, but it's also a question of where do we want to put our time and energy. I mean, we do need to keep the old paradigms of ways of being and thinking at bay, but we also need to create the new paradigm. We can't fight all the narcissists in the world. We need to find the people who are not so and build something. So there needs to be some balance there as well. But yeah, it's hard when you want to, like a parent, or you want them to understand you, and they may not be capable of it, and you just have to create your family elsewhere. So kind of like other narcissists, like, okay, you just realize that friendship can only go to a certain point. Their interaction in your life and in the community needs a certain kind of boundary. And just acknowledge that, and no shame, no self-guilt, the low vibrations. I've been involved with traumatic relationships, all that kind of stuff. Got to heal from it and move on, go forward, face the future. The longer we hold on to all the hurt, the more that festers into our future. So anyway, dealing with narcissism is totally a huge topic. I'm no expert, but it is definitely a huge issue as we grow as a world community.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I so appreciate your connecting here today. We have one more guest who's just popped in a little bit late, Ingrid, and unfortunately, at the moment, I'm limited. I can only have 6 people on screen. So Mariska, if you would please, I'm going to bump you out, but please join back in, because especially I want to get your contact information so we all keep in touch. So I'm just going to bump you out for a minute, but then join back in and you'll be backstage. So I'm going to bring Ingrid up. And here we go. Hi, Ingrid. Thank you for joining us. Whereabouts are you geographically?
Geographically, I am on the Yakama Nation indigenous lands in the Pacific Northwest. So, Selah, Washington.
I'm in Snohomish.
Oh, really? Okay. That's wonderful.
Cool.
We're neighbors.
We've been exploring many fantastic synergies and serendipities this evening. I'm so delighted that this little experiment is working.
Yes, I saw the invitation that you put in to the feed today, and put it on there. I was listening on YouTube for a little while as I was driving in my car, and then got home, and so I've heard bits and pieces. I appreciate so much the thoughts that were shared and the wisdom that was shared. I believe the aspects of the springs and the waters and the bees, like there was something about that as it was talking about like the healing aspects of information, that I know that despite all of his imperfections, one of the things that Tzaddik really desired more than anything was for people to come together and to share in community and to be able to bless one another with the gifts that we each can bring to the table. And I think that it's beautiful to hear that those things are being shared at a time of remembrance. Someone who, and perfectly imperfect, definitely. I heard the conversation about narcissism. I'm also kind of new to that topic, and I've actually listened to the Crappy Childhood Family and Ram Das, or no, not Ram Das, but whatever the lady's name is.
Dr. Ramani, yes.
Dr. Ramani, like, just because I'm searching for it and going like, well, tell me more about this thing that everybody keeps talking about. But it comes down to a level of people getting fixed in identities, or in my understanding, they get fixed in an idea of themselves that, they just forget who they really are. And that isn't an identity, and it's not a body, or it's not a even construct that we make of ourselves. I mean, that's a temporary thing that we can put, like a costume that we can put on for a period of time, but it's not totally who we are. But sometimes we get lost in the things that we identify with, and that can happen to any of us. So it's sad when someone gets lost, and hopefully we can help sing the soul songs that help bring each other home.
It's interesting that you talk about Tzaddik and I didn't know him, and it sounds like his passion, one of his sole purposes, always shone through, and that was bringing people together for a higher purpose. And it's just really hard when our other issues overshadow that. But it's beautiful to know that regardless whether we have our issues and we're working things out, that that true path is still there, and that is the one thing that we can celebrate in all of us. That is family, bringing us all together.
Sure. May I offer a 5-step exercise that for Tzaddik and for any, well, I know there's been a lot of hurt, and hurt people, and he had a lot of hurts, and he shared that with others in a way that was unproductive. He had a lot of beautiful ideas, and I don't know him as well as probably some others who are on this call. I've known him in periphery. He kind of came in like a comet into an event that I was a part of, and had a lot of really wonderful ideas and things, and just couldn't seem to get traction in that, and then took off in another direction. But I've maintained contact with him over the years, and acted as sacred witness in some of his ceremonies and things that he was doing. This exercise, it's called the compassion exercise, and it's the idea is that you do it on somebody that you can see, someone, like you do it in a public place, but also can be done on family members and on people that may be antagonists from our past, or it can be done on other life forms. And I just would offer this as an offering of remembrance of somebody who desperately needed and wanted, shared love, wanted love, needed love, proclaimed love, practiced love in the very best way that he could, and was struggling in his journey, and ultimately cut the journey too short. But if you'd be willing to take someone and bring them to your attention, this is the Avatar Compassion exercise. It's written by Harry Palmer, and it's one of 15 exercises in the resurfacing course that is found on avatarepc.com. If people want to know more information, that's where you can find more information on it. So bring someone to mind, and with attention on the person, repeat to yourself, just like me, This person is seeking some happiness in his or her life. Step 2. With attention on the person, repeat to yourself, just like me, this person is trying to avoid suffering in his or her life. Step 3. With attention on the person, repeat to yourself, just like me, this person has known sadness, loneliness, and despair. Step 4. With attention on the person, repeat to yourself, just like me, this person is seeking to fulfill his or her needs. And step 5. With attention on the person, repeat to yourself, just like me, this person is learning about life.
Thank you for that.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ingrid. That was really beautiful.
Okay.
And it's good to remember the good things that Tzaddik tried to do in the world, you know. As much as he had a lot of, you know, issues with his ego, there were some things that were useful and helpful, you know, and with certain intent for others, you know. So it's good to just keep that in mind as well. Flawed as everybody is. But you know, we try.
Yes, we all are.
Yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to close this session and hopefully keep in touch. Mariska's hanging out there in the back room, and I've put something in the chat to make sure that you've got my number, so you can text me and we'll keep in touch. We are wrapping up right now, and I'll let you go. Thank you all ever so much.
Okay.
Love and blessings.
And if anybody is interested in a second version of this, but with more people in Tucson, please text me. Yeah, please text me 267-334-7857.
Can you repeat that?
267.
Yeah, 267-334.
334.
7857. And in your text, just 7857. Just introduce your name and the context of this, so I know. It's not a stranger. I usually don't pick up the phone if I don't recognize the number, so it's good to text, and we can arrange a time to call, to talk, or Zoom or whatever. But it was lovely meeting you all here and connect on this very interesting dynamic on a soul level. And may we all learn from the experience and carry out what we are all meant to do here in the world. Not just on his behalf, but, you know, on our soul journey, you know, for ourselves, but also for the world. So thank you for doing this, Michael, and I'll see about putting together another version of this.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Thank you for contributing so much.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Blessings.
Ciao.
Love and blessings.